My name is Amanda, and I have not been counted among the living for 9 years. I died 9 years ago. It was no surprise to me. When I became pregnant with my only son, Leslie, I was told right away by my doctor that it entailed significant risks to my health. But at the time, I didn't want to believe it. I happily awaited the arrival of my baby boy into the world. He was born healthy, although the labor was backbreaking. But right after the birth, the doctor informed me that they found something wrong with my body. They decided to send me from the maternity hospital straight to the GP clinic. And they suggested that my baby be left in maternity hospital until I was able to take care of him. But I had waited so long for those happy days that I was reluctant to agree to those suggestions. My friend Nancy, who worked as a nurse in the maternity hospital, insisted on it. I asked her to help me escape. She helped erase my information from my logbook. I took my baby in my arms and escaped from the maternity hospital. I arrived at my mother's house, whom we didn't speak to in years. I knew she had her own life for a long time. I had no place for me, but I needed her support. Seeing me with a small child in my arms, my mother was amazed. "Amanda, where did the baby come from?" she asked. "Mom, will you let us in? I need you right now," I said. "Sure, come on in. My husband Rob is at work, but he will be here soon, and I will introduce you to him," she said. "Mom, I'm so glad you and Robin live happily together now. I'm sorry, I couldn't accept your lover a few years ago. I realized it only now, when I experienced a true love myself," I said. "My dear girl, I didn't resent you. I knew you wouldn't come to me, but I didn't know you were expecting a child. Where's the baby father? Who is he?" my mom asked me. "You know him, Mom. It's Kevin. We got married a year ago, and I got pregnant right away. I confess. Now that's your real family. It's time for me to let go of all grades and accept your Kevin. Why don't we invite him over for a visit? Let's get to know each other like close relatives," my mother suggested. I thought about it for a couple of days before. I told Kevin I knew he couldn't stand hard conversations, and he was terrified of anything to do with illness or death. I knew Kevin was unlikely to be a reliable companion in my struggle. Still, as the father of my child, he needed to see the truth. Kevin found me at my mother's house 3 days later, and he finally met her. They became friends. I felt calmer. Kevin kept asking me why I left the hospital unannounced. I wouldn't tell him why I left. I felt sorry for his vulnerable soul. By then, I felt that no amount of treatment will keep me alive. Instead of empty hopes, I took care of my child. I tried to spend every day as if it were my last. I gave maximum love and affection to my loved ones and received the same amount. It lasted 2 months. One night, I started to feel sick. I realized that the decisive moment had come. I quietly died at home, in my bed. To my great surprise, it wasn't as bad as it seems. When I was alive, I thought death was the end of everything. No, it's not the end. I'm still with my loved ones. True, they can't see or hear me, but that doesn't stop me from actively helping them with the essential things in life. I was wrong about Kevin. He turned out to be much stronger than he seemed in my lifetime. After my death, he quickly picked himself up and actively got involved in caring for our baby. He was great at it. Our Leslie grew up to be a beautiful boy. I visited periodically, so as not to disturb their peace. I was allowed to do that. That's the order of the day here. If you die and are left behind by someone who loves you, you can see them at any time. My Leslie recently turned 9 years old. He is in school, plays soccer, and plays chess. His closest friend is his father, Kevin. One day, I decided to visit them at our house, but I was surprised when a new woman showed up in the evening. Kevin brought her into our home and introduced her to our son. "Leslie, I would like you to meet my friend Sarah. She and I are very much in love, and I want to marry her," he said. I looked at my son's face and immediately realized he didn't like the idea, and he confirmed it himself. "Dad, Sarah is not your match. Walk her home, and don't bring her to us again," said my son. "Leslie, what do you think you are doing? How rude are you? Apologize immediately," Kevin demanded. "I don't need to apologize. If you don't like it, you can put me on an orphanage and live with Sarah," Leslie said and ran off to the room. I watched in silence. I hope that Kevin's new woman will show wisdom and try to find a common language with my son. But her response surprised me even more. "Kevin, you've neglected the boy. We need to get to the bottom of this. We need to be tough on him. It may be hard for you, but trust me, I will not disappoint him," she said. That woman's words made me uneasy, but I realized that I have no right to interfere in the lives of living people. They made their own choices, and then they're responsible of them. We're only allowed to observe it if we want to. I was worried about Leslie, but I kept watching. The next time I visited my family, Sarah was already acting almost bossy. She went into Leslie's room and started making her arrangements. When Leslie came home from training, he was upset that his privacy had been disturbed. My Leslie tried to defend her. "Sarah, you no longer have to go through my things," said my son in a calm voice. But Sarah, instead of showering respect, resented back. "You and your father are used to living a disorderly life. It's going to be different now. I am the mistress of the house, and therefore my orders must be respected," she said. My Leslie felt a bitter resentment at that moment. He couldn't find the right words to express his feelings. I then decided to help him to the best of my ability. I can't speak directly to living people, but can move objects. I smashed the vase of flowers my husband had given Sarah on the floor. I was hoping Sarah would think about it, but she didn't. "Leslie, you broke the vase," she screamed. "I didn't even touch the vase. How can you lie like that?" My son was outraged. "Who did it if not you? You don't even have pets to blame it on. I will tell your father everything. He disbanded you." She was indignant. I felt angry and resentful for my son, but I hoped that Kevin will come and everything will fall into place. But when my husband arrived, Sarah was right. He believed her, not our son. "Leslie, what the hell are you doing? Why are you being so disrespectful to Sarah? It's not nice to break a vase of flowers," he told her off. Leslie has his father's personality. He's proud and stubborn. He didn't make excuses, but shut himself in his room. After that, Henry spoke to Kevin for 3 days. My husband then became concerned. He called our son in for a frank talk. "Are you upset about something?" he asked. "No, I need money," Leslie said. "I already gave you every day. It's not enough. I need more," said the son and insisted. Kevin gave some money without a second thought. I was also surprised because I didn't know what my son will spend the money on. I know that Kevin gives money to our son for everyday expenses, and Leslie even saves some cash in his piggy bank. It's been a few days. When I arrived at our house, Kevin and Leslie were talking to each other. "So, Leslie, tell me what happened at school. Why is your teaching calling me in?" Kevin asked. "Oh, crap. Did she call you already? Don't believe her. You didn't need to waste your time. I will handle it myself," said Leslie. "I see you've done something wrong again. I should go to your school. If you broke the order, we will have a serious conversation with you tomorrow night," threatened my husband. Hearing them talk made me want to hug my son. It's a pity. I'm only spirit. I don't have a body to exist in a material world. But that didn't stop me from going to school next to Kevin the next day. That's how I first saw my son's teacher. Her name is Shayla. She's 37 years old. She has pinched lips and sad eyes. I looked into her eyes and saw that she lived alone. Shayla has no children or family. She was once a kind and cheerful girl. Still, some unkind people around her convinced her she was an evil, envious, unhappy woman. Shayla didn't have a loving person by her side at that moment, so she believed the words of those unkind people. After a while, she started acting like an evil, envious, and unhappy woman. The unkind people around her quietly rejoiced that they were right. That's how evil works against good people. But we are talking about something else right now. Right now, Shayla was mad at my husband. "Oh, you're flirting with me like this? What kind of rude behavior is that? First, you hit me with your car and I almost broke my leg. And now you send me flowers and gifts through your son." She was outraged. Kevin was a complete loss. "I'm sorry. I remember the incident when you almost got under the wheels of my car because you're careless. But I need to learn about flowers and gifts. I have no intention of courting you in such a strange way." My husband was outraged. "I don't believe you. Leslie brings me flowers, toys, and candy, and tells me what his father gave him. If you don't admit it, you're worse than an ill-mannered deceiver." Shayla was indignant. "I will talk to my son and find out why he did it." "What did you call me to the school for?" Kevin asked. "You need to be more careful with your son. He's been worried lately. Something is troubling him. He's not doing well in school or paying attention. Instead of courting strange women, you should think more about your son's education," Shayla said. Her words came as a real surprise to both my husband and me. I have never wondered about my son's relationship with his teacher. Kevin talked to him about it on the way home. "Okay, Leslie, now tell me, what's the joke with the teacher's gifts? Did you fall in love with that evil woman?" My husband asked. "Dad, you don't understand. She's charming, kind, and understanding. When Sarah accuses me on the spot, I get sad and can't do my homework. I told Shayla the truth that time. She understood me. And like you and Sarah, she believes me." "Dad, leave Sarah and marry Shayla," said my son. Kevin laughed. "Leslie, thanks for the advice, but let me decide who I'm going to marry. I'm sure you will get along with Sarah," he insisted. "No, I will not. You don't know that she threatened to send me to an orphanage in your absence. She tells everyone on the phone that she only wants your money and your big house. She doesn't love you either," said Leslie. But my husband was a stubborn man. He still is. His son's words didn't change his mind, and I began to worry about the situation. Sometime later, when I decided to revisit my family, I didn't find Leslie at home. His room was empty. His belongings were not there. Sarah was home instead. She wasn't worried about a 9-year-old boy packing his things and leaving home. When Kevin arrived, he got a call on his phone from someone. "Sarah, Leslie's teacher wants to see me again. I will make a quick trip to school and you can meet me for dinner," my husband said, and he drove off to school. I rode next to him, even though he couldn't see me. All the way, I told him about Leslie not liking his new woman, even though Kevin couldn't hear me. Shayla met us in the school classroom. She was angry again. "Kevin, I asked you to stop sending me gifts and flowers, but nothing has changed in your life," she said. "I figured it out. You don't have to worry that I'm in love with you. My Leslie did it on his initiative. I stopped giving him extra pocket money. You won't get any more gifts and flowers," said my husband. "That's wonderful. Now go home. It's time for me to finish my workday," said Shayla, and my husband hurried to the exit. But he couldn't escape the classroom. The doors was locked. Shayla noticed it right away and smiled. "It's Leslie again. Yeah, maybe he's right. I'm grateful to you for being so kind to my son. Too bad you won't be accepting any more gifts. I could have gotten you a personalized gift myself," said Kevin. "No need. We need to think about getting out of here now, Sheila said, looking at him with sad eyes. My husband called Leslie, but he didn't answer. Sheila called for help, but no one heard her. It was getting late. They only had to wait for someone to discover them in a closed classroom and then go out. As they chatted about all sorts of things, my husband noticed that Sheila was fascinated to talk to. I would like to ask you out on a date, he asked. I don't mind, but first, we must get out here, Sheila said, and they signed together. A couple of hours later, when they had given up hope, the classroom door opened, and a furious Sarah walked in. Oh, there you are, Kevin. What do you call this? You're cheating on me with that evil teacher. How could you? She raged. Kevin was perplexed. Sarah, what the hell is going on? How did you end up here? He asked. Leslie gave me the keys and told me you had a date with his teacher. I can see that he was telling the truth. Kevin, I will never forgive you for this. Not only am I putting up with your son, but you have no respect for me. She was outraged. That evening, Kevin managed to calm Sarah and take her home, but it wasn't easy. But Leslie was away. As my husband stood at a loss, Sheila called him. Your son is spending the night at my house. He left the house with his personal belongings. He will go to your house if you can work things out with him. If he doesn't want to, he can stay with me. I will take care of him, she said. Kevin now realized that his own position was serious, and he had no intention of backing down. I went to Sheila's house several days in a row. She cared about my son, and Leslie was interested in her. I forgot about them. I didn't have the right to be around living people all the time, so I returned to my heavenly realm. After a while, I decided to visit Kevin, but he wasn't home. Some strange man was walking around our house. He was making coffee for Sarah. She was lying in bed. They were talking about something. Aren't you afraid that your Kevin might come back and catch us together? The man asked Sarah. Don't worry for him. Works come first, followed by his son and other things in me. It's his fault for not paying attention to me, Sarah said. Despite this, are you going to marry him officially? The man asked. Yes, it makes sense. I will get married and then, if he doesn't fulfill my conditions, I will file for divorce. I have a good lawyer. I know him since I divorced my first husband. I was able to get him half of my assets. My lawyer will help me this time. I'm not leaving Kevin for nothing, Sarah said. You're so sneaky. I love a wild cat like you, said the stranger, jumping back into the bed with her. I wish Kevin would leave all his business and come home then. He'd not see that Sarah was leading him to misery. Now I understood why Leslie had been so involved of her from the beginning. My son probably sensed this woman's impure intentions. But when I arrived at Kevin's office, he was still calm, minding his business. I tried to move some of his personal items on his desk, but he ignored them. So I went to the extreme of disabling his work computer. But Kevin was stubborn. He didn't want to go home. He started calling some handyman, and then I had to drop his phone into a coffee mug quickly, and it went dead. Now, Kevin had no chance of staying in his office. He stood on the office porch, angry and swearing, and I insisted in a whisper that he go home. He made it. When he got home, just as the strange man was coming out of the bathroom, Kevin saw everything with his own eyes. Sarah said something in her defense, but it didn't help her. My husband kicked her out of the house. A few days later, our house was a different picture. Leslie had finally come home. Kevin decided to make dinner for this occasion. They invited Sheila over to visit. Leslie wanted to say something to his father, but he seems to understand. Sheila, honey, thank you so much for being my son's friend. I've gotten to know a lot about you and I like you a lot. If it's okay with you, why don't we start a family? Kevin suggested. Shayla didn't say anything, but I whispered to say yes. Leslie was looking forward to it. It wasn't until a month later that Shayla gave her consent. They got married. Now, my Leslie is happy. I'm at peace with him. I've started to visit him less and less. It's the right thing to do.